Well, good morning and happy Sunday, everyone. Wow, those are the first words that have come out of my mouth this morning since I woke up an hour ago. Everybody else is still sleeping. Oh, I think kids are up running around upstairs, but other than that, uh, so I just realized I just croaked out my first words for the day. And hence the need to warm up your voice whenever you're going to do something. So me, that kind of thing, you know. So how is everybody today? How was your week? How has your weekend been going so far? We're halfway through it. It's Sunday morning, and we're not here. Remember, this is not the formal Intrepid magazine, Intrepid radio radio show on Sunday mornings. This is a more informal form of that. So it's just a time to talk, time to look at current events if we want to, and just chit chat about life and what's going on. So if you're out there, hey, Susie Q, good to see you. Everin Smith, good to see you as well. Say hello to that wife of yours for us. And I hope everybody is doing well this morning. Can't see you, Tiny. Yeah, I haven't taken down the graphic quite yet. I usually leave that up until we start to get a moderately full house inside. So when people click in, they know where they are. Well, I think most people who click in do. So that'll come down in just a couple of minutes. Yes, I'm tiny this morning, but I'll be very large very soon. So I'm still coffeeing up. This was my first sip of coffee, despite having been awake for quite a while. And house full of kids upstairs. Now, my one daughter, my youngest, is at an overnight for a birthday party last night. But the two older kids all have friends over. And I say all have friends. The boy has a couple of buddies over that spent the night, and they all played games up in the main room. And then the middle child has a friend over as well. Good morning, Steph. You're running late, huh? Well, settle back with your coffee, your tea, your tequila, whatever you got there this morning. So welcome this morning. Let's get rid of that banner. Boom, there we are. Good morning. So it's good to see you all. Good to have you here. There's JP. Howdy, howdy, he says. Cheers, everyone, with your coffee. This morning, I am wearing the shirt we did for my daughter, for Ellery, for her little business. Poo Patrol. Ellery's Poo Patrol. Here, let me move over just a little bit. There you go. Ellery's Poo Patrol. Pile of poop over here. And Somerset. That's our town that we live in. So this is her logo as we were promoting things for her around town a little bit and online. And we did these shirts up for her. Slasheva, JP. Slashe. So that's what I'm sporting this morning. What are you sporting this morning? So, wow, I've got that light up there that always does it gives us, it's got a color bulb in it. It's one of those Wyze, WYZE. That's the company we got all our security cameras from. And it's a bulb that's got a Bluetooth thing in it. And so you can control it on the phone, the colors, the color wheel. You can put any color of the rainbow in there, and it shines it out. But it's been acting funny lately. It won't connect anymore to the Bluetooth, although the Bluetooth recognizes it and won't connect it. And so I finally just turned it on white. And you know what that does in here? It's not moody, but it's brighter, right? So you're wearing a towel, Steph. Like I said, I'm running late. You just sit back and relax. Here, let me hang that towel up for you. And you sit back and relax. You're having coffee. You had a surprise party for a friend yesterday that lasted too far into the night, like past 9:30. When we get our age, not young kids anymore, it's like, Oh my God, this party's going after 8 o'clock. That's the way it gets. Good light, yes, good lighting for a morning show. With no natural sunlight coming in here, we're simulating sunlight with bright light. So there you go. Now, usually this camera in this old computer, and I say it's old, it's old by computer standards. It's big, beautiful Apple, you know, what do they call it? Not MacBook. It's the Apple it's an iMac Pro. It's a 27-inch monitor. So it's big and it's gorgeous and it works well and all of that. But the camera's getting old. I bought it used when my my laptop crashed a few years ago, and I bought this used and I transferred everything over. And so it's been a pretty good computer. I said I'm out at 2:15 a.m. There you go, Steph. Try from 4:30 until 2:15. It was still going. I actually like those kinds of parties, get-togethers, whatever. When you're hanging with friends, we had a friend from the festival who had passed away, and they threw a wake for him. And the unofficial wake, it was kind of his circle of friends, and we started at about 5 in the evening, and I think it could have gone quite late. A lot of us are old, but it went into we could have gone half the night, and because the company was so good, and those kinds of parties when they start breaking up for the evening, somebody goes, "Oh, you got to go. Well, it's been great to see you," and then they're out, and then somebody else oh, they take the cue, and within 10 minutes, 2/3 of the people are gone. I don't know if that's the cue that. Now, what is that? Is that when everybody starts to exit like that? Is it because they wanted to go and they were just looking for the graceful way to leave, and they were just waiting for that first person to go, so they wouldn't be the awkward first person? Oh, it's time to go. Or is that they think, well, maybe that's the cue for all of us to go? And anyway, I love those kinds of get-togethers. Steph says it was great that everyone got together before these graduation, wedding, and vacations start. Right? Life is now crazy through the summer. I love summer and I love doing things. We're trying to get some things on the calendar and planned. And Rainey chided me and said, just put it on the calendar, plan for it. And we've got things to get on the calendar. But there's a lot of scouting stuff that goes on. There's a lot of other activities all through the summer. I got to mow my lawn. So that's what's on my calendar for the summer. Got to mow the lawn. It's starting to get to the place where the grass is flowering out on the side. I mowed it about 10 days ago, thereabouts. Mowed the front lawn, and I'm meticulous about it. I like to go out with the weed whipper and get around all the edges and all the flower beds and all of that stuff. And then I mow, and I usually it was already long for spring this year, and so I like to mow kind of a crisscross diagonal pattern in the grass, just so it's not the same typical. You see people who don't really care about their lawns. They get out with their lawnmower and they with straight lines, and they don't have a bagger and they don't have a mulcher, and so there you see these piles of grass and strips all along the yard. Well, we got a mulching mower, so it mulches it all, but it was so long I did it twice in the front yard, just so it crisscrossed and there was a pattern built in. It looks nice, and we didn't hit the side yard yet. I told the boy was going to do the backyard inside the chain link fence in the backyard, and then we've got the outer backyard, which is like another. I don't even know. I don't gauge distances very well. It's maybe another 100 feet to the property line, and then the width of the property back beyond that. And so that area got neglected because as I was doing the backyard, the mower stopped. I thought it was the long grass, and I thought, okay, but it wouldn't start again. It's an electric mower. And so we took it in and he looked at it and he said, I think there's some flip jobber sensor that's not working. I'm like, well, that's just great. So I went and I looked online. We just bought that 2 years ago on Amazon, that lawnmower. And I went back and we looked at the same model, same exact model. It was almost dollar to dollar, double the price what it was 2 years ago. There's Bidenomics for you, folks. Elvis is in the building. How you doing, Elvis? Good to see you, brother. And like he says, yeah, smash that like button. You know what that does for us? Now, I'm not like some of these other guys out there where we've got hundreds of thousands of followers, and the like button has a greater significance. But that does help the algorithms for this show. So if you go and hit that like button, and anybody else who's in here, tell them to hit the like button. That shows YouTube's algorithms that something's going on here. So, well, there's your problem right there. Tain't got no gas in it, says JP. Yeah, there's no gas in it. So it's got 2 battery packs though, and at first I thought, wow, that I used up that battery pack pretty quick this time. I wonder why. And now I push the button, and it goes. Woo, it starts up, and then it goes. Woo. That's all it does anymore. It won't start. It won't stay running. And I figured there's got to be something. And it only started when I got in the long grass. So I had cleaned it out underneath and all that just to make sure nothing's messing with nothing, and just won't do it anymore. So now my grass is going to seed on the side of the house. And it's a big, long strip. It's too narrow for football, but it's about the length of a football field from the front curb on the street to the far back fence line. And so it's nice, but at the same time, well, no, it's beautiful. It looks beautiful. You've got all these, the grass is long, and you got some dandelions in there, but you got these sprouting plants that are all yellow. They're yellow. It's like field grass. And then you got white field grass in there, and then it's sprouting yellow, blooming, I should say. So you look down the side of our yard, and it's like, this is a gorgeous pasture back there, but it's our yard. And it's a good thing our neighbors have a privacy fence on that side. And, well, 2 neighbors. They're on the side street there, and they got privacy fences. So it's not bothering their view. So, and we can see all the way to the end of our property. Of course, you see the houses on the other side over there. And he's got, not fencing, but he's got a garden with, old split rail, very antique looking type of stuff back there. It's kind of cool. So, looks neat with our long grass. So we've got a prairie going in the. So did you know in Minnesota, they had a thing. I don't know if they still do it. I'm assuming they do, where you could take your yard in the city, and you could get some kind of either a tax break or some kind of thing for planting Minnesota prairie grass. And it was so some people, I saw it right in the heart of the city of Minneapolis, where you would have yards, just typical houses side by side going down main inner city housing, and some of the yards, which are no bigger than, say, my master bedroom there and this studio put together, growing wild grass. And it was very cool. And some of them they put in the long grass, the prairie grasses, and prairie plants, and all of that. And I don't know if they dug holes and put groundhogs in, but man, it looked really cool. Yeah, I went from best lawn in the neighborhood to a pasture. Time for a goat, says Elvis. If we had a couple of goats out there, or sheep, that'd be nice. We could fence in the yard and put in sheep. I know we can have chickens in town here. I don't know if we could have sheep. I think that would be kind of cool. Put a couple sheep on the lawn. You'd only have to deal with sheep poo. At least Poo Patrol. She could come and clean it up. So, by the way, if your yard needs poop picking up, my 9-year-old third grade daughter started this business, Poo Patrol, Ellery's Poo Patrol. And she goes around the neighborhoods, and the people who've called off of her flyer that are nearby, I have to drive her and pick up the dog poo in your yard. And I said, now's the time for summer. You want summer money coming in. This is the way to do it. And she said, she asked if she could do this. So I had formulated this little business for Sam about 10 years ago. He didn't want to do it. Never got it off the ground. Let's put it that way. And then Flynn, I made the same offer to him. You could make some extra money. Nah, he didn't want to do it. Picking up dog poo. And so Ellie said, hey, that dog poo thing, can I do it? I said, sure. She's doing it. And for you got to put it in perspective. Now, she's not paying the mortgage with it or anything, but for a 9-year-old in third grade, she's taking on average about $100 a week. So that's nice. And now it's trailed off a little bit from its initial jab out there. We had some people that called her back in April that wanted her to just do the initial spring cleanup of the yard and see how it goes from there. But she charges $30 to $60 for a yard, depending on the size of the yard. Now, remember, we're out here we're like an inner city community, neighborhoods on the fringe of being rural. So you walk 3 blocks that way, you're in the country kind of thing. And so people have bigger yards. And when I first, put this thing together for Sam 10 years ago, we were thinking $10 a lawn because we were in a residential area in the country. And now it's like $30, $30 a lawn for a regular lawn, and $60 if you've got one of those acre lawns, And she does it, and she's very good. She's very industrious about it, very good natured. And we told her, whatever you take in off of this work, you have to put half of it in the bank to save, and the other half is yours. And then you talk to mom and dad about what you're going to spend, so you don't just fritter it away. And we were out the other day and getting it was actually after one of her lawns, and she wanted to stop at Starbucks and get coffee. She and her older sister love the frou-frou coffee drinks at Starbucks. I said, sure, we can stop. And I was just looking at bags of coffee, coffee bean I like to buy because I do French press for my coffee. Thank you very much. And she says, Dad, what's that coffee? And I told her, I said, that looks like a nice coffee. And I put it back, and I went and I used the bathroom while we were waiting for our order, and I came back, and she had bought that for me with her money. I said, you don't have to buy Dad coffee. I said, that's in our grocery budget, and I wanted to buy that for you. I said, well, thank you. So it's very thoughtful. So Ellery's Poo Patrol is coffeeing us up this morning. Sponsored by Ellery's Poo Patrol. So if you have poo that needs picked up and you're local, you know where to come. And so that was pretty neat. So anybody, you know what? You can call in. It's Sunday morning. I'm inviting you. Let me throw the invite link up into the chat room. And I could just launch into politics. You know that. Politics and current events. There is a fine line there. I could launch into that right now, and I could get us going and get deep really quick. But let's see what you guys want to talk about. If you want to call in, there's the link. Call in, and we'll talk. I'm hoping the sound of my voice wakes my wife up, and she comes in and says good morning this morning. I think that'd be awfully nice to see her come into the show that has her name on it. And she's just been so busy lately. She's got a weekend. She doesn't have to do anything, which is nice. I think this is the first week this month where she doesn't have something both Friday and Saturday. Well, she had something yesterday already. They had a scout thing, the crossover for the the age groups. You go from being a tiger to a bear, or a bear to a wolf to a weebelow. We below what? I above the ground, not below it. So, and they've got this bridge that the guys built, very nicely crafted. It's got the sayings on it and stuff, and they have to literally. It's a ritual. You walk up, or a ceremony, and you cross the bridge. You get your new scarf or your new little, scarf tie, and so that's what the crossover is all about. And they get their awards for the year. They're earned awards, I should say. So the things that they've done in their book and in their plan. So that's what they did last night. I do have to say, my astrology said a while back that there will be issues with Biden's health starting in May. That may be the reason he's taken out. And look what's starting to go down now. Yeah, he's going to debate now and all that. You must have been here Friday night, Steph. We talked about. I have a theory. They're working to replace him. They will be, mark my words. I don't have any inside information. Just seems to me the theory that I think we're operating on here. The Democrats have to save face. They've been saying for 2 years they were disappointed that, the Democrats are not happy about Joe Biden and his decline. They used him for what they needed to use him for. And they certainly don't want Kamala Harris in as the president. So I will bet you dime to donuts that by the time the convention comes, the Democratic convention, they're going to be pulling Joe Biden out. He'll be doing his gracious stepping out and endorsing the new candidate because that's what they're going to tell him to do. Or is he going to be so mentally declined by then? Do you think he'll do what he's told, or do you think he'll go out angry? And if he goes out angry, how are they going to take him out? Unless they vote him out. So that there's something interesting for you there. Trump is going to have an easy win, I think, against Biden, unless the whole system is rigged again. But what if they get somebody young and energetic in there for the Democrats? Now, let me put a caveat in here. I don't just vote Republican or Democrat or conservative or liberal. I vote for the person that I think is going to do the best job for the country. Does that mean some young Democrat, somebody younger who's on fire and is with it, could do some good things for the country? Maybe. I might disagree with their political ideology, but, you look at a guy like, we were so opposed to Bill Clinton back when he was in office because he was a Democrat. I was much more a Republican back then. And you look at that, and I look at the reasons 30 years ago that we resisted Clinton. And not just take the scandals and stuff out and push that out for a second. Why politically did I not want him in office? And I look at it now, and I say, Clinton actually did some pretty good things as the president. And you look at the things he did, you look at some of his old speeches and watch what he says about immigration, about the economy. And so he wasn't a bad president. He was just a Democrat for Republicans, and Republicans wanted, of course, a Republican in office. Let's see. Steph says, in the astronomical stuff, we have a lot of aspects pointing to assassinations or attempts of, and I've just seen some in other countries recently. Yeah, there was, wasn't the president of, not Uruguay. It was one of those like Baltic states countries, I think, if I'm not mistaken, where there was an assassination attempt this last week. So, yeah. Carlene says, Biden won't go out quietly. No, I don't know. I don't know that he will. Maybe this was the thing all the way along. I don't know. There's a plan. When they pulled him in to run him, I think, like I said the other night, I think they made a lot of promises to him, probably deals that they made. Here's what we're going to do. And as his health got worse, I think that there's probably a lot of modifications to that. So right now, Biden thinks he's winning everything, and he thinks he. You know what I think? I think he doesn't really know, and that's what he's being told. And but I think as you see Trump's popularity growing, the polls, the this, the that, the other thing, I think what you're going to find is you're going to find that the Democrats have to find a way out of this gracefully. If they just say, well, we're going to take Joe down because he's mentally incapacitated, he's unable to cognitively stand as the president of the United States. Well, if they do that, they would have to admit that they knew this was coming for a long time. That doesn't just happen overnight. So they're trying to save face too. Remember that, because they've been gaslighting us and lying to us for the last years. How you doing, Josh?
What's going on
Good to
there,
see you, brother.
Scotty?
What's up this morning?
Oh, not too much. You got me riled up talking about this now. Politics. Yeah,
Well, let us have it. Spill it on us.
the politician you was talking about that got shot. That was
Yeah.
the Slovakian
Yeah,
president.
some Baltic state. So
Uh,
I
but
can't
yeah,
remember which. So I didn't pay much attention to it, but
yeah, it was Slovak. But
I'm sure he's very important there. I don't
yeah.
know much about him. So
Well, he was like, I think he was pro-Russian,
ah,
and it was like a hit job. I mean, it was a hit job, but either way, but it's
Steph
a
says I think it may be that he spoke out about the WHO World Health Organization against the pandemic proposal.
yeah,
Might be.
yeah. Well, that's another thing. That's a deep dive right there because this going on that I think that kicks in over if it's not a treaty, it's an agreement with the. I mean, everybody's pretty much signed up for it, so it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
But back to Biden, uh, it wouldn't surprise me if they pulled the 25th on him
Yeah. See,
before
that's
he
what I
got
think is
elected.
going to happen. I think you're right. I think if he doesn't want to go out quietly, you know what'll happen? I think the Democratic Party will push and will vote with the right to remove him from office under the
Yeah,
25th Amendment. Not competent to hold the job anymore. And has that ever been done in the United States? Has the 25th ever been used and upheld in the history of the presidency? I'm going to ask: has the 25th
uh,
Amendment
I
amendment
I
ever
don't.
been used
Uh,
against a sitting president? Let's find out. Let's find out what Google tells us. There's a list
Google.
of presidents who served 25th Amendment, an explainer, overview,
I
presidential
don't.
disability and succession, who's in charge. I don't
I
see
don't.
here a list. So
Yeah, I don't think it has.
presidents have used Section 3 of the 25th Amendment 4 times. Each time they've given power to their vice presidents. Now, this is the sitting president has invoked this on themselves. And they gave the power to the vice president for a short time because they needed to
Uh,
get anesthesia for a medical test or a surgery. And the 4 acting presidents in the United States history, it says, are listed below, and they are Dick
it's probably.
Cheney, June 29th. President George W. Bush became the first president to officially invoke Section 3. He needed a colonoscopy, a test of your bottom,
Yes.
and he would be getting anesthesia. And he formally, I didn't know that. Just getting anesthesia, they want to have somebody else, I guess, who's not under the influence of drugs. So Dick Cheney, he voluntarily gave that to Dick Cheney till he was back in shape. On the 21st of July of 2007, 5 years later, President Bush again invoked Section 3 so he could have another colonoscopy, which I'm due for one. I haven't had one in far too long, 9 years or something. I think when
My,
I was due for my other one, it was when I was in the middle of all my heart stuff. And they said, we're going to push that off for a while.
Well, knock on
Um,
wood. I hadn't hit that age yet. Well, I'll be 40 this year, so.
you know,
But
it's a lot of fun.
yeah.
They give you this big gallon and a half jug. You got to chug this stuff down. And it's not just like sitting, let's just chug her away. Over an
You got
8-hour period, you have to drink the whole thing. So you have to start at night in the evening, and you start drinking
then
8 ounces at a
oh
shot every
yeah.
15 minutes, something like that. And by the time you get to cup number 4 and realize you still got 20 more cups to down, you're over it. And well, all that does is make your system run, and it turns your ass into a waterfall. Is what it does. It cleans you out, so
Yeah,
they can run their cameras up your butt and take a look at what you got up there.
you would think by now, well, that and the prostate, you would think they would have something technology wise
Yeah,
that they could do
you'd
something
think.
better.
They just want you cleaned out.
Yeah.
Kamala Harris, Joe Biden actually signed his over for an hour and a half on November 19th of 2021 for his colonoscopy. And let's see. As of 2024, Section 4 has never been invoked, but there were at least 2 occasions where the use of Section 4 was considered, and another where its non-use came under substantial criticism. And this occurred also during the presidency of Ronald Reagan.
I was about to
And,
say Reagan.
yeah.
I know they pushed it with him.
Yeah, because
Which
he had Alzheimer's and he was
Alzheimer's.
declining. And
Uh,
so they didn't actually
Bi-
go through with it, but
and Biden definitely he's
Biden
got
definitely.
uh
In 1987, Reagan was accused of not doing his job.
yeah.
His chief of staff, Donald Regan, resigned. Howard Baker
Mhm.
replaced him. Reagan's
Yeah.
staff told Baker that Reagan seemed lazy and unable to do his job. They told him to be ready for Section 4 of the 25th Amendment to be invoked.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
according to PBS at the time, their program American Experience, it said what Baker's transition team was told by Ronald Reagan's staff that weekend shocked them. Reagan was inattentive, inept, and lazy, and Baker should be prepared to invoke the 25th Amendment to take away his duties. And then in an interview on the program, Edmund Morris, who had written a biography of Reagan, which I've got over on my shelf, he said, the incoming Baker people all decided to have a meeting with him on Monday, their first official meeting with the president, and to cluster around the table in the cabinet room and watch him very, very closely to see how he behaved, to see if he was indeed losing his mental grip. Reagan, who was, of course, completely unaware that they were launching a death watch on him, came in stimulated by all these new people and performed splendidly. And at the end of the meeting, they figuratively threw up their hands, realizing he was in perfect command of himself. Now, that's what his biographer wrote of it. Now, and that was when they were watching him to see if they needed to invoke the 25th Amendment. Now, do you think that what has the Biden administration done? Do you think they've done anything like that? Do you think they sat around and watched him and thought, do we have to invoke the 25th? You know, we have all our criticisms for them that we have, but do you think that there are people, I don't think they're all innately evil, but I think they do stupid, dumb shit. But, and I disagree with their political ideologies. Do you think they sat around, do you think they had meetings and watched him? And
No.
maybe Biden performed fine that day, and they're like, okay, I guess he's okay. Where do
I
they keep
think
coming up
that
with? He's the sharpest tack in the box. You know,
well, I think
I don't
there's
get it.
somebody else. I think there's somebody else running the
Hmm.
government.
They're going to run somebody else. Do you think it's going to be Michelle Obama? There's all that scuttlebutt about that.
uh,
Is it going to be Governor of California Gavin Newsom?
oh,
You know,
I hope it's Gavin Newsom.
I think
The,
Trump will tear up. I was going to say Trump will tear, and I said Trump will tear. Trump will tear apart Gavin Newsom. Easy.
oh yeah.
But you know what Gavin Newsom represents to the left? the left has repeatedly, the Democrats have repeatedly shown us that they don't really care about
Who it is.
who it is. They want certain of their pet issues taken care of. They want, I remember Rush Limbaugh back 20 years ago. He used to have the song that he would play introducing a section of whenever he talked about new legislation, womb to the tomb, womb to the tomb. He said, this is what Democrats want the president of the United States to enforce. And what they want government to do is protect you, womb to the tomb. It's like the stupid Drew Barrymore opening her stupid yap and talking about Kamala Harris being like her mom. I'm going to call you mom. It's like, no, the president of the United States or the vice president, they are not your parents.
The
womb
government
to the tomb. Womb to the tomb. Jason, how you doing?
Doing all right. How's it going, guys?
Do we need a womb to the tomb government?
Need a what?
Womb to the tomb government taking care of us.
The government is not there for there's certain stuff they're supposed to do, but not that.
Womb to the tomb. Jeez.
By the way, I got a question for you. Now you're sitting out there on your front porch. You look rather settled in. Like I'm not settled, but I'm here. I've got a front porch. I'm living in Missouri. Are you Missouri or Kansas?
Missouri. Yeah.
You're in Missouri and Kansas City, folks. It crosses the state border there.
Yeah, that's on the west side of the state.
That's the west side. And so you're out there, you're sitting, it looks like you got a little sunshine going, or at least light. We always see you out smoking at night on the captain's cabin. But there you are on your porch in the daylight. Let me ask you the most important plaguing question of the morning. Have you had a colonoscopy yet?
No, I have not.
Oh, you can't. You're going to really love it. You're going to love it.
You haven't lived until you've had a colonoscopy.
You haven't lived until you've had your colonoscopy. And there's nothing like, we already talked about all the chemicals they make you take the night before to wash out your system. So they can, run a coat hanger with a camera on it up your ass and look for what's up in there. And, but the best part is lying on the bed in your robe.
You got to fart.
Oh, if you got to fart. Oh, yeah. Well, lying there and having two really, really pretty nurses attending to you. And there's the one that will lean over you and go, they're starting to give you anesthetic. She leans over and she goes, she says, just take your hand and spread your butt cheek for me, will you? I don't know. I don't think she didn't use technical language like, could you grasp your gluteus maximus on the left and pull it? No, she said, just take your hand for a second and pull this up. Pull your butt cheek up. And I'm like, under different circumstances, that would be an interesting question. But under these circumstances, I'm glad you're so good looking and you're watching me, an old fat guy who spread his butt cheeks for you. That just makes me feel happy.
Well, it's glad to hear you handled it so gracefully, Scotty.
I handle all those, especially when I had to poo in the bedpan in front of three nurses, laying there naked on the table, flapping in the breeze. Well, there was no breeze, so flaccid in the breeze.
It's funny. My mom was a nurse for well over a decade before she went into real estate, and so there was always, this thing of, always make sure you're wearing clean underwear. Always make sure that you're this.
Yeah,
I mean, what if you have to go to the hospital? And
well, the hospital,
I'm like thinking to myself, well, if I'm in a hospital gown with the flap in the back, I'm probably not in my, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
Not that I wouldn't, but it's like, okay, Mom.
I traditionally for years, not for any hippie reason or anything, I just didn't wear underwear. I didn't like them. It was too bulky and throw on my jeans or my pants and underwearless.
That was me. That was me for about from midway through my 07-08 Iraq deployment.
Yes.
To probably about, gosh, 2 years ago, year and a half ago, because it just it's one more layer that your body has to breathe through, and all of that. But and there were some benefits though too, because I typically wear a lot of heavy denim.
Yeah,
and so there are some benefits to switching back. I had to start being very picky and start looking for a lot of different things.
Being underwearless and sitting in the car, going maybe 70 miles an hour down the freeway, so you don't have a lot of movement, and realizing that pain or itch is being caused by the heavy seam in your denim jeans crossing your scrotum. And women, you don't have to worry about that one. You got other problems to worry about, but it's like, ow. And you realize it's because of the way you sat down. When you sit and you scoot into place,
the squish
a little bit, and then you realize, well, I've got one testicle hanging on that side of the seam and the other one hanging on that side of the seam. And it's like, my pants were not that tight when I put them on. Why are they tight? Oh, I scooched up in them. And so there's that. But anyway, it's like, I went underwearless, from before I met Raini. I was underwearless,
Hey,
but I think sometimes I did it just so, I could look like a porn film,
Oh God.
for her. Like, here, let me unbutton that fly. Ooh, you're not wearing underwear. There's that factor, I suppose. But
hey, come on down to Alabama. You go underwearless a lot.
Wear your baggy shorts. You take,
yes.
I view Alabama as being the place where you go buy a pair of sweatpants and you cut them off just below the knee. So you have really long sweatpants and they're a size too big. And you got that tie up at the waist, and you just like, I'm walking around. I got no underwear on, but I got loose. I got to place my testicles. I don't use the word testicle except if I'm on the radio, but swinging free in there.
Go outside on the front porch, get that breeze blowing.
Sarah says I'm going to add that to the list of things I never needed to know.
See, if I ever move back to Alabama, I will probably be investing in a lot more linen suits.
Well, you'll see a sucker suit. I'm a gentleman.
Well, I mean, Mom and Dad live in Madison. My brother lives in Birmingham. Well, Helena, but Birmingham. And
I'm in
Birmingham.
I'm in Tuscaloosa County, but
That's something I noticed about the South. It's never like, I'm in Birmingham, I'm in Madison. They're like, I'm in Sam Coleman County, I'm in such and such county, I'm in Treefront County, I'm in Emancipation County. It's all counties down there. I live in the county.
The furthest south in Alabama I ever lived though was Fort Rucker, now Fort Novacell, and in the Wiregrass.
That's. Hey, I've been there plenty of times, but
it is humid down there.
You talk about.
I don't like humidity. Oh.
You talk about swamp ass.
Yeah, well, it's humid enough down there that you can get Spanish moss in the tree.
Nice.
Yeah,
and which is lovely, but it's
we just use toilet paper. We got. It's so far. It's not very humid here, but I love a good thunderstorm. Thunderstorms bring humidity.
Jasper County.
You're humid.
Jasper County.
Jasper.
Yeah.
I'm in Jasper. I'm in St. Croix County up here, St. Croix, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Those foreign words.
Have fun town names like Andalusia.
Andalusia.
Yeah.
We breed
And
good
then-
horses down here.
And then you have other ones where it's
Bayonet.
Baby
I
Net.
mean,
Bayou La Batterie.
Was that
yeah.
From what was it, Mike Myers and Wayne's World? Oh, she's hot. She's like a babe. She must be from Babylonia. Yeah, there you go.
Jesus, Mary and
Babylonia
Joseph.
County. So
Hey, the original Mardi Gras actually started in
Mobile.
Mobile.
Yeah. It's
Mobile, Alabama. I've
it's
been to
Mobile, not mobile. It's Mobile.
Yeah.
Mobile. We're going to Mobile, Alabama.
You're going where? Mobile. Where?
Yes,
Oh,
sir. You can tell a
Mobile.
lot about the history of a place by the land and its street names.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and like so, then outside of Daleville, outside of Fort Rucker, you had Enterprise, and Enterprise. When you go downtown,
The birthplace
right in like the
William
square, they have this big statue, and it's this looks like it's a goddess type woman, and she's uplifting a boll weevil.
Yeah.
Because
I know exactly where you're talking about.
Right, yeah. So the boll weevil, attacks cotton plants, but it saved the South along with George Washington Carver because it forced them to start growing different crops other than cotton, and because cotton is incredibly depleting on the soil. And so by planting peanuts, peanuts are a nitrogen affixer and other things like that, and so you rejuvenate the soil.
Ladies,
as you
make
rotate
sure you
crops.
heard that right. They grow peanuts.
Peanuts. And if you go to Dothan, Alabama, about a half hour away from Fort Rucker, Danville,
Alabama, did you say?
Say again, Dothan.
Docent.
Dothan.
If you go to Dothan, you'll everywhere when you're driving around town, you'll find these concrete statues of peanuts put out in front of businesses, and they'll paint them up. And so when I was at Fort Rucker at the company headquarters for Bravo Company, 1st 145th Aviation Regiment, they had the commander had on a cork board in the hallway had a commander's play of the week board where it was soldiers doing dumb shit. And they'd post up what it was. The names would be redacted. But, if somebody did something stupid, got hung up with the police or with the city or whatever, as kind of a warning to others. So you start flipping through the play of the week. And there was one in there where a lieutenant had been arrested.
Lieutenant.
Had been arrested and charged not only with, drunk in public, because it was outside of Hooters, and they had a peanut out there that was painted up in the Hooters girls, outfit.
Nice.
And he was arrested for drunk in public and assaulting a peanut.
Nice.
He was out there grinding and gyrating on the peanut, and the cops come by.
And they arrested him for that.
And they arrested him.
The things you can get arrested for.
Only in Alabama.
He identifies as a peanut and get away with it now.
But I tell you what, I'm trying to think. There were 3 store locations, 2 that I can remember. There was one in Andalusia, and then there was another one. Oh man, it's a town that's between Dothan and Montgomery. Troy, Alabama. There's a barbecue joint down there called Hooks.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, if you are a fan of dirty rice,
I am.
Their dirty rice was the best, and you could buy it in pint and quart sizes.
if I was a man of financial means, you're just telling me that. My mind goes, oh, we got to go try the dirty rice down there. I just said to Raini this week, hey, tomorrow we're going to pack up. We're going to go down to Alabama to a little place called Troy, so we can have some of their dirty rice.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm not a man of means that way, so.
Well, you could stay with me, and then you could take a trek down the shore.
And then there's a place in Huntsville. Well, outside of Huntsville, it's in Madison County. Called
Madison
Greenbrier.
Greenbrier,
Greenbrier.
And they have really good barbecue and catfish. And then
all the Greenbrier reminds me of is delivering newspapers when I was a kid. There was Greenbrier Apartments in Minneapolis. Didn't like it. Had a weird smell to it.
Yeah, let's see. Then there was Gibson's. Gibson's was a local joint in Huntsville, and that was always a good one.
I'm trying to think of Bob. Is it Bob? The famous guy that does the white sauce. Bob Gibson.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think Gibson's barbecue may have been something with him.
Yeah.
Well, there's some places in Minneapolis where you can get there's a place called Cajun Boiling in Minneapolis, and the Cajun House in Minneapolis. That one's in St. Paul, I think, where you can find some great dirty rice. And here, folks, for those of you who don't know, dirty rice is frequently referred to as Cajun rice in Louisiana and other parts of the South, due to the dish's history with the Acadian immigrants of Louisiana, your Cajuns. And Cajun rice typically incorporates andouille sausage.
Andouille.
Oh, that's right, French.
Andouille.
It's not andouille. Ouille is andouille. It's
like ratatouille.
Sausage, andouille, bell pepper, and celery and onion, along with a blend of traditional Cajun spices.
Yeah, I think.
What's in that? Oh, it's a blend of traditional spices. What kind of spice? Traditional.
That means we ain't gonna tell you.
Hey, what was that old man that used to cook that had that franchise?
He was the Cajun, Raging Cajun, not Raging Cajun. He was something else.
Yeah.
That's where everybody who's in our age bracket learns stuff like we don't guarantee.
Yeah, guarantee.
You and me both, Yusuf. I'd love to eat my way across the country, she said. Me too.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. But
that would make. I know there's been TV series that have done that, but I'd love to do it. At my age, I can't get hired to be the young, gorgeous, six-packed adventurer, who in slow-mo I swoosh my hair back when I come out of the
I can't be hired as the one with the six-pack anyway. But
yeah.
But, I can't.
We go do. I can't do the old man who gets in my Valiant.
But let's think about this though, Scotty. Do you really, truly trust the food opinion of the svelte six-pack sporting perfect hair dude?
Because they don't eat anything.
Right, yeah, that's
well, I don't
think now Guy Fieri, I can trust him because he eats.
Yeah. I seem to like, and he's annoying as shit, but he's that guy. I don't even know if he's a cook. Is it Ferrari? He's got the spiky white hair.
Yeah, Guy Fieri.
Guy Fieri. He's
going. And then he's a chef. Other guy.
I don't know why everybody hates on Guy Fieri, man. He is an awesome human being.
I liked watching his show.
He's a chef.
He was always on there. He was always, but who is the guy? And I can't remember the name of the show. It was on a few years back. That he would go to the places that would offer it wasn't weird food.
Oh, Man versus Food.
Was that it? The guy that go eat the
It'd be like the huge portions. Yep.
And I thought I saw somebody else. It must have been like Josh Gates or something. say, I need to do a show like that. That guy's going to die soon. He's gonna die of a heart attack. Andrew Zimmern did the weird foods.
Yeah.
Anthony Bourdain. I loved Anthony Bourdain's
Oh,
yeah, that was a tragedy.
That was a tragedy, and I hate to think that. I hate to even think about that because he was what a to take himself out. But people said, he was in a relationship problem with his wife and other things, and that he struggled with depression.
He did. Well, he was when he was working kitchens.
Mm-hmm.
Way before he got famous. I mean, he developed a drug problem. I think he had a heroin habit or something.
He had a big heroin problem.
Heroin. I mean,
it was the 80s. What?
That's a big thing with chefs. That's like chefs and lawyers. They have drug problems, like big time.
Yeah.
Sarah says that Adam Richman was the guy, Man vs. Food.
Yep.
And he's doing a history show now. Boy, he's trimmed down a bit.
Yeah.
It's because he's not eating enormous amounts of food.
Well, and they got a new things.
Like they got a new guy doing it now.
Yeah.
Modern Marvels, Man Finds Food, what was that show? Ranitidine, however you say that, and Man vs. Food. He's got some history show. Tragic details about Man vs. Food star Adam Richman. Tragic details. Oh, this is juicy. Let's see what this says.
Sounds
Tragic
like
details about Man vs. Food star Adam Richman. Adam Richman burst onto the culinary if you're highbrow, entertainment scene in 2008 with Travel Channel's reality television series Man vs. Food. God, 2008 already. That was. How many years ago was that? 10?
Yeah, I don't like to think about it.
And 16 years ago. Wow. That's why I failed all 4 quarters of algebra in 9th grade. Took me that long to figure out.
But you didn't have Common Core math. You should have been doing better, Scotty.
Yeah. I didn't pay attention. I didn't care. And I paid for it.
Math was never my strong suit.
Yeah, never.
Unless I needed to figure something out.
Of 9th grade algebra. I told that story. Failed all 4 quarters of 9th grade algebra. And the algebra teacher was one of those left and right brain people because he was a fantastic mathematician, but he was also a fine artist.
Oh, wow.
And he knew I was an artist. He said, tell you what, he says, you paint a portrait of me and I will pass you for the year. He says, he looked at me and he goes, Scotty, you are never going to use this in life. You're never going to be a mathematician. I get it. He says, I'm going to cut you a break here. You can take it all over again in summer school and take it over again next year. Or if you do a painting of me, I'll pass you for the year.
Nice.
Sold. And I did a big painting of him. He was going like this. And he had a big beard and, wore red sweater vest all the time.
I got to step out for a sec. I'll be right back. Keep talking.
And so I did that painting and I passed for the year. I never took another math course my entire life after that. Go figure. I don't know how I breezed all through high school. That was 9th grade. 10th, 11th, 12th grade. I never took a math course. I never got nailed for it. In college, never took a math course. Of course, I didn't need them in seminary when I went into my master's program. Didn't need a math course. So 9th grade was the last math course. 9th grade failed 4 quarters of algebra was my last math course. Anyway, Adam Richman. He burst onto the culinary entertainment scene in 2008 with Travel Channel's reality television series Man vs. Food. He traveled far and wide to bravely take on the best food challenges in the United States, all while being cheered on by local restaurant goers. For instance, he once tried and understandably failed to devour a 6-pound, 2-foot-long burrito. 6 pounds. Think about that. You think that's not a lot of weight, but pick up a pound of hamburger and then spread that out to 6 pounds and pick that up and go, could you eat that and put it in your stomach? blow up. Let's see. In another episode, he ate so many oysters, 180, that to this day, it's the one food item that Adam Richman has sworn off forever. So thanks to Richman's enthusiasm for food and the extreme lengths he went to display it, the series received the network's highest ever rating for a new debut. It only had a run of 4 seasons before Richman stepped down as host. More on that, the article says. But the program's influence can still be seen today in the countless food challenges it inspired around the world, blah, blah, blah. His career skyrocketed during those years, leading to many endorsements, 2 book deals, and more TV shows. And of course, life is not always glitz and glamour. There are dark parts too, and Richman's life is no exception. From grieving his father's untimely death to struggling with body image issues, being a victim of fake news, these are the tragic details of Adam Richman's life you might not have heard about. And it goes on, he values his privacy, was never really shared much about his personal life, especially the turmoil he experienced in childhood. See, I thought this was all going to be something related to the food he ate. In a rare occasion, he did open up about his early struggles and interview, blah, blah, blah. According to Richman, his parents, Jeffrey and Sharon, divorced when he was 4 years old. To this day, he recalls it clearly. Goes on to talk about that. Recounted how being shared between 2 divorced parents was confusing in school, yada, yada. Goes through all of that stuff we talk about on this show. As private as Adam Richman is with details of his parents' divorce, even more privately the details of his father's untimely death. He goes on. Despite being away from Adam half of the time because of joint custody, Jeffrey Mark Richman remained a huge influence on his son's life. Could be credited for molding Adam into a proper foodie. And in an interview, Adam recounted a story, so on. To celebrate Father's Day in 2023, last year, Richman posted a photo of him and his dad on Instagram. The caption read, "Not a day goes by that I don't think of you, miss you. So love you, Dad." He's experienced anti-Semitism. There's a picture of him here in this article he's got a prayer shawl on, Jewish, with the prayer, the leather strap wrapped around his wrist, the little olfactory, whatever that's called, the little box in his hand, and he's leaning up against the Wailing Wall in Jerusalem. Says, while he's always been quiet about his personal life, he's been open about his faith. He was born into a Jewish family, attended Solomon Schechter for elementary, Talmud Torah for high school. For college, he enrolled at Emory University, which is a strong Jewish community. Richman also knows how to speak Hebrew, in addition to French and Japanese.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize he was a polyglot.
There you got at least 2 really difficult languages there, Japanese and Hebrew. Like many who follow his faith, he's experienced anti-Semitism. In an interview with The Observer, he shared some stories of hostility toward him and his family and friends. I wonder if Emory University gets the protesters, because predominantly Jewish students there. Let's see. He talks about stuff on the line. 2012 continued getting high ratings. His show in its 4th season. 2012, was it that long ago? I must have been watching this show when it was in its reruns, because I don't think of myself as in 2012 watching the show. That was 16 years ago, however many years ago that is.
La 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 la. Can't hear you talking about that. Can't hear you.
The first one was 2008 when he started, and I'm like, I was stuck on that. Now they changed it to 2000. 4 years less than the answer I got from doing 2008 to today. So
2012 was when I got married.
There you go.
Are you still married?
Are you still married?
Yes.
All right. Congrats.
Anniversary was last week.
Oh, congrats.
12 years and still going. So.
Outstanding.
Man, what the heck? If Field Guy can get married, why the hell can't I?
Yeah, where is Field Guy? Is he here today? I thought I saw him earlier. Field Guy, when are you getting married?
Or no, sorry, did I say Field Guy?
Oh yeah, no. This is, I see what you were saying.
My brain.
Josh Kemp.
My brain is Josh can get married.
Clickbait says
I
Sarah
should be able
Yusuf.
to.
Yeah, it's a well, the story is it's a Yahoo story, so it's clickbait. That's like an underweight baby.
Underweight baby.
I don't know what that was in reference to.
That's probably the 6-pound burrito.
Probably an underweight
So,
baby.
speaking of the 6-pound burritos,
Yes.
if anybody's on Instagram, look up. There's a gal on Instagram whose handle is Raina is crazy.
Raina, RAYNA.
RAINA. Yeah. Is crazy.
Is crazy as one word.
All one word.
Raina is crazy. I've got RAINA.
Yeah.
Is crazy. That's got to be her, huh?
Should be like blonde. A tiny Asian woman who like does competitive food eating
I saw
type
blonde
stuff.
in her mini picture. So she's Asian, bleached blonde Asian.
Yeah. Good God, the things that she friggin' kills is ridiculous.
What that she does what?
Just like the meals that she puts away at some of these places.
I'm looking at this. I'm looking at the sushi platter in front of her. Holy,
oh my God. Sushi platter, giant things of curry, giant like it's not your standard like competitive eating fare. And she goes all over the world doing food stuff. Like,
that'd be cool to do.
Oh yeah.
Money to travel all around the world. That's kind of fun to do that. I'd like to do that, but I'd like to be paid to do it.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Well, hey, just become an attractive woman influencer on Instagram really and TikTok and all that, and you can
man boobs that I have. Man boobs won't get me far, but well, in some circles, it might.
Well, you just have to throw a wig on.
Sarah Yusuf says I get severe food envy.
Right. Good God.
Videos. What is that one?
Mukbang. Yeah. Mukbang is like the extreme eating.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm not an extreme eater, but I can get fit. I'm a foodie. I like food. That's
right. Yeah.
My whole problem for being in shape right now
is food.
Because I love to eat.
I know.
If I didn't love to eat, I'd make dry, unsweetened oatmeal in the morning and a half a cup. Instead of a pint or a quart.
Last night I went for supper. I am and it's one of the reasons why I'm really excited to be in an actual big city, even if I'm in the suburbs. Actually, I'd rather be in the suburbs than downtown. But
by the way, let me just say, hey, Sterling. I had Sterling.
There is food culture, and last night here's the remnants of my kabuli palau and lamb shank.
Kabuli palau.
Kabuli palau. It's an Afghan dish.
Tabbouleh. Yeah. We had. Now it wasn't very good. In if you were to rank them, now if you've had a hero sandwich, gyro, I love those.
Yeah, gyro's great.
There was a little place in uptown Minneapolis where I had a studio on the corner of Hennepin and Lake. For those of you who are around, that was just 2 blocks off of the main drag of the BLM riots in Minneapolis 4 years ago, and I would walk a half a block down, and there was a little place, just a little hole in the wall place. When you're walking in the city and there's like no breaks between the buildings, they're all built up against each other. This was a little place, couldn't have been any wider than this studio.
Yeah.
And it was a place where you could get a hero, they had the big meat thing on the vertical. One more hero, and best ever anywhere. Well, my daughter, my 12-year-old, she went shopping with Rainey, and they brought home freezer heroes. All the separate individually packaged pieces, and it doesn't come with the tomatoes or anything like that. You do your own garnish, but and it wasn't bad. The sauce wasn't bad, but she made those up with the pita bread and the and cooked it all. Those are ready, Dad, if you want one. I had 2 of them, and I was ready. I was going to make a 3rd yesterday because I'm like, oh, these are really good.
I'm excited because there's like 3 or 4 Greek restaurants literally within 5 to 10 minutes of my house, if
Nice.
that.
Greek.
And like I love a good gyro. There was a.
Did you cook your first meal in your kitchen yet?
No, Sarah, I have not. I am still unpacking. I literally got here like just shy of 10 o'clock on Thursday night, and the movers showed up. Oh, sorry.
Sorry about that. I blurted that right over you. Hey, you 2 talk for a second. I'm going to go refill my coffee.
All right.
Maybe get rid of some too. So I'm going to let you guys talk. I'm going to remove myself. I'll be right back.
All right.
Yeah, and then my movers showed up with all of my household goods. Gosh, it had to have been like 8:30 Friday morning. So I have been in the throes of unpacking, and I haven't gotten the kitchen all unpacked and everything like that. So no. Long story short, Sarah, I have not made my first meal in my kitchen yet. I am looking forward to it. I don't know what I'm going to make. But yeah. I guess I could be simple of it. I do have a dozen eggs in the fridge, and I do have my favorite frying pan, which I left out of the boxes and stuff and took with me in the vehicle. So we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Where'd you move to, Jess?
St. Louis.
Okay.
Yeah, and I am very much excited about the food that's here because I was living in a food desert in Grand Forks, North Dakota. There were a couple of things that popped up here and there, but like, you know, a bunch of them along the way didn't last because the folks up there just, it's a very Norwegian and German palate. And it's not like, you know, it's not a big melting pot. And so when new things come in, people are hesitant to try it. And, you know, or it relies heavily on the, because they have University of North Dakota's there. So it, you know, relies heavily on the student population to keep them open. And just some of these places just can't make it past summer when all the students leave. Because nobody will go try it. And it's like, look, don't get me wrong. I love me some Culvers, all right? Who doesn't like a good butter burger and some deep fried cheese curds? But for the love of God, mayonnaise isn't spicy. And no matter what you guys think, mayonnaise isn't spicy, and the world does not revolve around lefse. And you know it. But and I say that very much enjoying lefse. I mean, it's a very, very simple bread type product, you know, but you put a little butter on it, put a little sugar on it, and it's like the greatest snack ever. But yeah, I'm happy that there is food variety here, and so yeah.
You just talking about Greek restaurants. We see, yeah, we have one here in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
But I think we got probably 30 Mexican restaurants.
Right. Yeah. There's always tons of Mexican restaurants in a place, and nothing wrong with that. I love Mexican as much as the next guy, you know. I would definitely go get some, you know, chili verde or.
Well, there's one that's like authentic. They hand make their shells and tortillas and everything. It's a new one. And there's
if they've got burrito on the menu, you're kind of like, all right, this might be a legit joint.
It just opened about 3 weeks ago.
Damn enchiladas, says Randall Flagg.
Enchiladas.
Enchiladas are good. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Josh. I'm just blabbing.
Got a new plate. Got a Creole. It's called Creole Creations. I think it's out of Florida or Florida or Louisiana. That's coming up.
Pita bread is no good
moving
for you.
in.
That's like 10 toasts. She's talking dietary language there.
Oh yeah.
You're not wrong, Sarah. You're not wrong. It's not the greatest for you, but
What's wrong with pita bread? For
just
sake.
all the carbs, or if you have some sort of like, gluten or wheat allergy or anything like that, it's going to create problems. Pita for me is not half bad. I'm cool with pita, but I love naan. That's what I
get naan bread.
Yeah. Or
NAN, folks, not NON.
NAAN, right?
Sarah, what is the good alternative to pita bread if you want the pita bread experience with a hero sandwich?
Sarah, call in.
Call in. Wait for you. Oh, naan. She says naan. NAAN. So naan is, or you're just correcting my spelling?
Probably both.
It's double.
Yeah, naan, and then like there's there were a couple of kinds of bread that the locals made in Mazar-e-Sharif. They're in northern Afghanistan that I can't remember the names of them, but between the naan and then those other two, those were so good. And we used to
give me a minute. I'm cutting vegetables.
So. We used to joke. We used to call it. We would sit there, be out on convoy, and we'd see the bakeries and be like, "Oh man." And then we tell our interpreters, because we had a couple of interpreters actually that lived out in town and would, basically come into work every day instead of live on the compound with us. And it's like, hey, I remember, was it one of our gunners or one of our drivers was like, hey, can you see if they can bring me some of that foot bread?
Foot bread?
Because you'd be looking and they'd have like a big open, almost like a garage door sized opening in the side of a building, and you'd see the dudes there in the bakery and they'd be stepping on the bread to get it to lay flat where it was getting baked. But you know what? Don't care. It was delicious. Don't care.
What's your secret ingredient? Oh, foot lettuce.
Dude, I don't care. It was good.
Don't care.
It was good. What? Well, that's the other thing that's interesting too, is like a lot of the foods that I had in Afghanistan were absolutely amazing. And it wasn't just like having the Kabuli pulao and like, the various, kebab and all that stuff.
I am wondering, there's a place back in the, had to be the 90s, mid to late 90s. One of my customers was a place called Da Afghan in Bloomington, Minnesota, and busy suburb of Minneapolis.
Yeah.
And the Afghan restaurant, it's still there. 929 West 80th Street in Bloomington. They were in a
it's good stuff.
Like an office mall, an office park.
Yeah.
And but the best Afghani food, well, it was actually my introduction to Afghani food. And
okay, so it's Afghan. It's Afghan. If you say Afghani, you're now talking about the currency.
Oh,
yeah. So just
shows you what I know.
Just throwing it out there for future reference.
But food. There you go.
But it wasn't just all the cooked and prepared foods that was really amazing. The absolute best watermelon and grapes I have ever had in my life were while I was in Mazar-e-Sharif. I don't know what they were growing it in. I don't know what they were fertilizing it with. I don't know whatever, but like the most flavorful grapes I have ever had. I mean, like truly like intense in flavor.
We get red grapes around here all the time. Raini brought home a bag of green grapes the other day.
Yeah.
And I washed some up and I brought them down here because I'm working and I pop a grape and I go, it doesn't taste, it's not as sweet as the red grape.
No, green grapes are a little tartar, but there's a little more sour to them. But the grapes that I had there were green grapes, and they were absolutely like the perfect balance of sweetness and just a hint of sour to them, and they were juicy, but they weren't very big. They were small and a little bit bigger than like a wine grape. And
I was just about to say that sounds like a good wine.
Sounds like a good grape.
right.
Dr. Lucky Stone, by the way, says, I thought pita was more healthy than bread. I guess I was manipulated by Big Pita bread lobby. The Big Pita.
Probably. And then the watermelon that I had, good God.
Sarah,
I have
welcome.
never had watermelon that sweet and that flavorful. And like I said, I don't know what they were growing it in. Don't care.
We get watermelons from like Aldi's, places like that. And it just seems the last couple of years, the watermelon always has this taste to me of being like, it's a little edgy. Is that a little too? But
close to the rind.
No, it's got this it's like refrigerator taste. But, freshly sliced, and you bite into it, and it's like, that tastes like it's starting to go bad, or it's been sitting in the fridge.
Well, are you sitting there? Or are you picking up the watermelon and kind of giving it this thump and?
Raini's the one who buys them. You
just grab them.
It's probably
I just grab them. I just grab melons. That's all I do.
It's probably.
I'm sorry, I accidentally set that one up for Scotty to walk into. My apologies to everyone.
My wife told me yesterday to stop groping.
It's probably
husband. I love you, and I don't grope.
It's probably that daggum GMO stuff.
Well, there's probably some of that there. As you try to sit there and hybridize things and crossbreed things to get volume out of the produce. Rather,
groping.
We're talking fruits and vegetables, Scotty.
Okay.
Scotty, come on, back over here.
Hello.
Back over here.
By the way, she wasn't mad at me. She just said, "You're groping." Don't grope. I've got more class than that.
Jason, welcome, sir. But Jason,
not working. If you're hearing us or we're not hearing you,
yeah, I'm listening.
Oh, she's just sitting there being quiet while we're just being interesting, to say the least.
Jason, how long did you do over there? Service time.
So I was in RC North Afghanistan for a year, and then 2018 into 19, I was there for like 4 months and change as a Air Force civilian doing historian work.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you're probably younger than me then. I said I'd be 40, so you're probably younger than me.
I'm 42.
Oh, well, you're older than me. I look older than you, but
it depends on what county you come from.
I feel older than I look. So,
hey, believe me, I feel a hell of a lot older.
It's like good old Henry Jones Jr. said.
Yes,
it's not the years, honey; it's the mileage.
Yeah, there you go.
Blasphemy.
So you're cutting vegetables, Sarah?
That's been under my name on my
ready
Instagram
for the week,
what? Sarah, what? You're echoey. You're in your kitchen?
Yeah. Let's see.
Or your bathroom.
I believe she said she's food prepping.
Yep.
Food prepping, yes. That's the one thing, you always know that you have somebody on the other end, when you've taken a business call and you're in like a public lavatory and it echoes and you're like, you want to try to cover your phone. So it doesn't sound, you can't tell I'm sitting in a stall in a lavatory.
Well, the first question that everybody should be asking, including yourself, is why are you answering the phone in the stall in the lavatory?
Right. Well, because it's the call I've been waiting for all day.
Right.
And you're like, crap. Now I'm taking a crap and they call. And
it's always how it works.
Duke, and the phone rings.
Yeah, I can tell this is one of those TMI shows.
Oh, yeah. And nothing's off limits.
Right.
You know how Sunday goes, Sarah. You know how Sunday goes.
It's not
That's right.
Sunday.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Yeah, pretty much.
I was trying to cut Scotty some slack.
Thanks, brother.
See, that's the action of a true Southern gentleman.
As long as he does it when I'm not in the room, then it's real.
Oh, Lord. Yeah. Tell you what, it's going to be a hot one today. I can already tell.
You
Oh,
said
yeah.
hot weather down here. It's been all rainy for the past 2 weeks.
I think it's supposed to be hot here again today. It was in the 80s yesterday.
That sounds
Hey,
nice.
Siri, what's the temperature going to be here in Somerset, Wisconsin today?
The most we ever got was low 70s.
It's dropped back down. 72 is our high for today.
It's
Cloudy
supposed to
skies,
be-
72.
Let's see if I can see.
all next week's supposed to be pushing 90 this week down here.
Nice. See, 90, too hot.
84.
80 is workable.
We're going to have a high of 89 and a low of 64 today.
There you go. Wow. Yeah, you're pushing 90.
Yeah. Oh, it'll get up there by the time we get midsummer. I guarantee it.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is just going to, it makes me quietly chuckle to myself about all the times I would hear people in Grand Forks being like, oh, the humidity. Oh, it's so hot. And it's like, dude, you don't know what humidity is. Shut up.
Yeah, move south.
No.
Yeah.
And then the other voice in the back of my head said, now, Jason, be nice.
See,
Okay.
out toward where you used to live is western Minnesota, and it bumps up against the Dakotas. And
Yeah.
everybody out there, you got all your farmers from like Litchfield and Moorhead. They're all kind of like, well, it's going to be a really hot one today in a soaker. Oh, it's going to rain. No, just the humidity is really up there. Don't you know?
And it's interesting because, there are times where they were like, oh, it's really high humidity. It's like 90% humidity or 80, 80 close to 90% humidity. And it's like, yeah, for like a day.
Yeah.
For like a day. It'll
Carly,
be.
you're in Virginia now, right? Virginia is always humid. I lived in Virginia for a year and a half, and it was always humid.
Yeah. Having the Mississippi running through the city is going to be interesting too.
Our rain left out last night, storms and rain. So
yeah. we had good rain Friday and yesterday. It was raining so hard on Friday.
How hard was it raining?
It was raining so hard that when my dad called and I was in the car, he couldn't understand me.
Oh no! Oh, you told me that. Yeah.
Yeah, because of how heavy the rain was hitting the car and the roof of the car and all that. It was crazy. I was like, I haven't seen rain like this in a hot minute, probably since the last time I lived in Missouri. So,
by the way, I just thought of my daughters. If either of you are listening today, call me here, will you? Call in. So, not calling.
Hey guys, call your dad. Jeez.
I've been trying to get him on this show forever. Oh, we can't today, Dad. We're doing this. I think they just don't want to come on the show.
Could be. What was that, Sarah? You started to say something?
No, I said at least you didn't have to pull over.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I've had to do that before.
Yeah.
I have. Though not in any of my newer vehicles. I had to pull over to the side of the road when I was driving from the second leg of my trip going from Fort Rucker, Alabama to Fort Drum, New York back in 2007. And it was someplace in Maryland, I think. I was in my 63 Beetle and my wipers quit. And it was night.
Oh.
And so I had to pull over under an underpass. And that's when I saw my youngest for the first time, when I got a tiny little photo sent it to me on my phone on a screen this big. I was not able to get there in time to see them born, which sucks, but it's a memory that'll stick with me though. So
yeah.
Since you keep bringing up Fort Rutgers, what would a Indian Navy plane helicopter be flying out of the Tuscaloosa airport? What is it?
Did you say an Indian helicopter?
Yeah, Indian Air Force or Indian Army.
Feather Indian?
Navy.
Okay.
What's it called?
So it's the Indian Navy. So
yeah, Shalorsky.
I don't think of the Indian. We have the strongest navy in the Indian Ocean.
Was it M53? MH53?
M60.
Oh, MH60. So it was a Black Hawk or the Navy would be a Seahawk.
Flew. Dude, this thing was flying like treetop level over my house.
Nice.
And
invasion.
They'd be here for training.
And when it got like 10 miles past my house, they must have turned their transponder off because they ain't no airport past me. So
so there's a number of countries that actually send pilots and sometimes equipment as well here for various training purposes, whether there's training exercises going on
flyover in their Indian
where you get multinational forces and they'll work on training together. So that way you have better interoperability between the forces.
Do they send their own choppers over here so they can learn in their own equipment? That's what it is.
Well, I think they just bought a bunch of these MH60s. So
they may have. They could have been over ferrying them from one place to another to load them on a ship to send over.
Roger Rabbit, they were carpet bombing curry powder.
They was probably going to Columbus.
We will make you very tasty.
The route they was probably going to Columbus. I mean,
yeah.
Oh, by the way, I got to get back to Sarah about pita bread.
Yeah.
Sarah,
oh, yes.
Sarah, tell us why pita bread is so bad.
The $64,000 question.
I thought it was good.
Well, I mean, it all depends on the type of, the material you're using in the dough. And the only difference between pita bread and non-bread is with most of all breads, it's the ratio of stuff. So you have the ratio of water versus, how much oil's in the actual bread. So so basically pita bread is like non-bread, but there's more water in it. So that's where you get the puff and you get the pocket formed in that. Because when you get put high heat on it really quickly, then it puffs. So that's where you get your pocket for your pita.
Yeah.
So,
Roger Rabbit adds to this conversation that pedo bread is even worse.
Yeah. So
there you go.
Basically, you can consider pita bread is kind of the essential equivalent to bagel bread. Okay. In terms of I like bagel. So a bagel is like five toasts. One bagel is like.
Oh, that's why they wouldn't let me have one in the hospital. When I was in the hospital, and you get put.
You could have half.
Oh, you're a heart patient.
Half a bagel, but then you still got half a bagel.
Well, I'd like a bagel with breakfast. Well, then you can't have the eggs, the oatmeal.
No, the eggs are good.
The orange juice or the
coffee. It's all protein and good cholesterol, good fats.
So, as far as, alternatives, it depends what you want to get out of your pita bread. If you want the squishy, bread-like texture, then, you're kind of, you would have to either go, keto route or make, which I would recommend to everybody, start making simple breads yourself. You get better.
I'd love to make bread.
So if you're say you're eating your shawarma wrap or, you're doing that, you try using tortillas.
Now, what somebody who has dietary restraints, like me, diabetic or heart or whatever, what's the best kind of bread to eat? Because my wife brought home this loaf that she picked up. It was called artesian bread or something, and it was reminded me of
it's like roughage,
squishy white Wonder Bread from being a kid, but it was artesian. Had a better crust.
Artisanal is just one of those buzzwords. Artisanal is just when you can't get something to look, exactly the same 50 million times. Oh, it's artisanal. It's made by hand. So, artisanal doesn't really
good bread,
mean anything. It's just mean like it's handmade.
That's great for the best. My go-to comfort food. PB&J on squishy white Wonder Bread.
Yeah.
Old glass of milk and chips.
You can do one or the other, not both in the same meal. So, and
I'm sorry, you can have
that sounds like a challenge, Sarah.
PB&J, that's equal to 10 roast beefs, so you're going to have to not do that today. Oh, damn it.
I think one of the biggest
have a light lunch,
I think one of the biggest crimes against food was the horrible rap that my phone apparently got off of the stand. No, but was eggs.
Oh,
eggs got such a horrible rap for a long time.
Yeah,
and it's so unfair.
Same thing as butter.
Butter.
Butter did the same thing, and everybody's like, we're switching to margarine.
Now it's like they're telling you to mix it into your coffee. It's like, I tried that once. My coffee tasted greasy.
So the one thing, if you're gonna make bulletproof coffee, as they call it, right?
Yep.
If you're gonna do that, you have to really get benefit out of it and things like that, and not cause more problems. You have to get unsalted butter, and get the Kerrygold Irish butter, because
I like the Irish butter.
Yeah, whatever cows they use produce a milk that has certain kinds of, has
all grass fed. It's the difference between American butter and European butter. It's the that I've been fed on.
Well, there's that, but there's a kind of the protein
grass fed or corn fed. So.
Yeah, there's something else about the milk that comes from the more common dairy cow used in Ireland. I forget which breed it is, but that also has something to do with it too.
Irish cows,
right? Irish cows. But it's butter and eggs got such a huge disservice. Margarine is so bad for you.
So would you say, by the way, to make the best cup of coffee using butter, to use Irish butter?
It's called Kerrygold is the brand that
I've got a tub of that.
Yeah, but it has to be unsalted.
Unsalted, got it.
Yeah, and I tell you what, just
creamy skipping peanut butter. That's for your peanut butter coffee,
right? Yeah, you do just a little bit. Your first time, don't go with like a full pat of butter the first time. Ease yourself into it, because it does change the flavor a little bit and stuff like that. Not in a bad way.
That's Roger Rabbit.
But if you put too much in and you don't mix, you don't get it mixed thoroughly, you will get that kind of like, oh, I have a layer of grease on the top of floating on the top of my coffee.
Yeah, I didn't like that. You get the little, it makes a nice pattern, like tie-dye in your coffee.
To answer Roger Rabbit's question, ghee is butter, but it just has the milk solids taken out. So,
what's the difference with ghee? I've never had it that I know of.
It's clarified. It's butter, but butter is made out of there's a fat part and the oil part. There's separate. So if you cook it,
so why are a bunch of Canadian hockey players named Guy?
I don't know.
That would be Guy.
To the center.
That's how you pronounce the French way of pronouncing Guy.
Oh, Guy.
Yeah, Guy. Yeah, that's why, because French Canadians.
Can't you tell by my outrageous accent?
Parlez-vous français?
No.
I'm from Madison County. Parlez-vous français?
Je m'appelle Josué.
Je m'appelle Josué.
Hey, I did take 2 years of French.
Oh, outstanding! I didn't take. The only languages I took were archaic languages for seminary. Koine Greek and Hebrew, and
I wish I would have took Spanish. Looking back now.
Yeah, I took German, so I was auf Deutsch.
Spanish.
Well, all the reason
Spanish
I
different
took
than Mexican. My daughter asked me the other day.
It'd be a dialect difference. Not a,
It is basically the same thing.
North.
You have dialects, and then there's stuff that's going to be influenced from the local,
local
tribe stuff, that languages that kind of blended in. So there's going to be differences.
The Mayans, the Aztecs,
It's basically like Louisiana.
Louisiana.
Like a Creole.
The Creole to
like field guy language.
Yeah.
Nolans.
You have the influence of the French and the Portuguese. So
yeah. And then you got Alabama, Georgia. They talk. I mean, Alabama, Georgia don't sound nothing alike.
That reminds me. There's a
but going back to non-bread for a second, Jason, since you're in a more metropolitan place,
I'll do my rabbit trail later.
Can make or even get your own, and you can make your own fresh naan. So you use pizza dough. It's the same dough. So if you take pizza dough out and roll it out like you would a naan and put it on a hot cast iron skillet and then cook it on both sides, that's essentially naan.
Did you say a gosh darn skillet?
Cast iron.
Oh, field guy just chimed in. You rang
you should come on board.
The show's resident coon ass is showing up.
Dialect in your
I'm about to say we got
field guy. So,
but I mean, it's like they were saying earlier. There's nothing like fresh bread. Fresh bread and butter or cheese or even on its own.
It's amazing.
Hey, sir, you was talking about tortillas earlier. Which one's better, the flour or corn?
For better in which way?
Depends on if you're gluten free, I suppose.
Yeah. Diabetic wise.
Yeah, so if you're diabetic,
no bread at all.
No. Well, no. It's not like you can't have bread at all. It's the quantity.
I know.
You can enjoy. But I mean, the thing is, with everything else, you have to look at the label and see how many carbs are in there.
I got it. If it tastes good, you can't eat it.
Yeah.
No, I mean, that's what I used to think like that. But then, then I started cooking for myself, and I found out I like my cooking better than anything I could get out there. I mean, even with something like tortillas, I mean, essentially at the most basic level, it's bread and water.
What do you like to cook, Sarah? What kind of food? What kind of dishes? What's your favorite? If you're like, I'm cooking, I don't know what to cook, I'm going to go to my go-to. What is it?
Well, I mean, usually the go-to is what I got in the fridge. So, and then it's not. Sometimes I do fusion stuff. I mean, I cook. It's ironic because fusion. I cook everything.
That's a good way to put it. Let's see. We got some leftover meatloaf in tin foil. We got some rice.
Yeah, so I take that and make a quesadilla or make a burger and make a chopped up grilled cheese.
Kind of gluten-free lentil soup. That'll make the gravy. And that's your fusion cooking.
A fusion. That's American fusion.
a nice potluck.
Yeah.
Well, Sarah, you talk about how you start cooking for yourself, and you found that there's some things that you make that you actually like better than the.
Well, I mean, you make it to your own personal taste. I mean, you
right? Yeah. Right. So last night when I went to the Afghan restaurant for supper, I ordered the Kabuli pilau with lamb shank and all that. And the rice itself, I was not very happy with. I make better Kabuli pilau.
Right.
And I don't.
And the flavor that you get in one restaurant is not going to be the same that you get in another restaurant. That's the other thing with Indian cooking too. So
well, when I was digging around, looking for a place, like I was sitting there like, okay, let me pull up this menu. Do they even have it?
Yeah.
Because like when I want Afghan food, like that's what I want.
Yeah.
Because that's what I ate with the locals all the time. You know what I mean? So it's very much an emotional and memory driven kind of thing.
Right.
There was a place
flavor. It's like the olfactory nerve.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. And there was a place in just outside of DuPont Circle in DC, and it was in a neighborhood
And it was in an old house, like in a neighborhood, and didn't realize it was an Afghan restaurant because my buddy and I were walking down to a different street in DuPont Circle where they had like a bunch of Vietnamese restaurants. We were going to get pho, and then a little thing hanging off of, the handrail for the stairs. And it was like, what? Hold on, let's see what this is. And I looked at it and I was like, oh my God, this is an Afghan restaurant. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, here, let's go in here. And the palau they made was like, I'm sitting there eating it, and we're drinking chai and all that, and it brought me to tears. Like I sit there, I was sitting there, and I was starting to tear up, and the guy was coming out to the table because when I got there, I was we were ordering. My buddy Matt didn't have a clue because he'd never had Afghan food, mm-hmm. And I was like, well, when I was in Mazar-e Sharif, I ate with the Afghan National Police a lot, and we always had kabuli palau. Right. And he was like, "You were in Mazar? I am from Mazar. I am from Mazar." We had this whole thing, yeah. And they didn't have kabuli palau specifically on the menu. You could just get the rice as a side dish. And he was like, both of you just order number 13. He'll get a good sampling of the stuff that you had, and I will tell my sons, make the rice kabuli for you. And I was like, are you serious? Like, I don't want to put you out and make you have to do it. He's like, no. I will do it for you, my friend. Wow. And so nice. Like they brought it out. I'm like eating it, and I'm literally like tears are coming down my face. And he comes over just to check on the meal, and he sees this. He's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm just like, I had so many meals in country with Afghan National Police guys, mm-hmm. and this tastes just like it. Yeah. And it was such a positive experience in the middle of a very negative thing going on with a war, that it's just stuck with me, so deeply. And it was great just having this bonding experience with this restaurant owner, and my buddy Matt sitting there kind of like, okay, here I am watching my friend starting to cry while he's eating this food. Like, this must be bringing up horrible memories. And I'm like, no. It's like very positive things, because, breaking bread with people is such a big thing.
And it's such a pleasure to be able to feed people good food.
Yes, exactly. And it was so great. Just, he was just so warm and so generous about everything. And he was like, go get all the chai you want. We have it stashed around the corner. If you want more, just go get it. And so it was like, it wasn't like masala chai,
right?
Where it was like spiced and with the milk and stuff like that, for, because most people here in the West, you hear chai and that's what you think, right? You think the spice chai, masala chai. No, chai
American chai tea is an abomination.
Right. Yeah. No, it totally is. And
I guess I kind of like American chai tea till
now.
Okay.
If you're used to something like masala chai, and you've had like the real deal, and then you have like the Starbucks version,
mm-hmm.
yeah,
it's very, very, very westernized.
Yeah.
For our palate. So it's way sweeter.
And that's the issue with the restaurants. You have your authentic food, but then you have to adapt to the local culture to get them to try it. So that's why, like you said, you went to that kabuli palau place. It's not as good as they have to try to adapt so people will come.
Exactly.
Rather than stick to your roots about
Well, that's like when with the House of Punjab place in Grand Forks, I ordered biryani, I think it was chicken biryani, and they're like, do you want to spicy at all or anything? And like understanding that their spice scale is different than what the Western spice scale is.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you get mild, it's going to have some zip. Yeah, a little bit. Yep. If you get like medium hot, like it takes it up a few octaves. Like it takes it up a notch or 12. And I was like, yeah, make it medium, because I was like, I'm not local from here. I can deal with, and they're like, oh, okay, all right, So, but like that's the only place too that I've been able to get
masala chai that was not like ultra westernized. Like you could really get the spices coming through in this stuff. And so when I would go there, I always got their chai there because it had a more authentic taste and didn't taste like a, Western Starbucks whatever.
Right.
And a lot of that, and for those places to kind of thrive, you have to, do what Anthony Bourdain said, and Andrew Zimmern, and all the big chefs on these travel shows. You have to take a little bit of risk.
Yes.
It's you accidentally found this place, a hole in the wall. There's no major signs and about that. And some of the best meals that I have were in those types of places versus going to Olive Garden.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Get away from the change, but a lot of people they have fear because it's fear of the unknown too. Say, what am I going to get? What they have, which is why whenever I go out with people, I mean, typically when I go, if it's just me and my family stuff, we never go out for Indian food. It's like we always end up saying we can make this better at home,
right?
But if I'm with like a lot of Western friends, I mean, I'm okay with going out for Indian food. Then I can kind of explain, what's going on, because if it's a different language and they don't have it translated, and you kind of like, do you want a rice dish? Do you want this? Do you want something else? I mean, having a dosa, which is like a rice paper crepe, nobody would know to order because they tend to stick to what they know. I mean,
right.
You have rice, so everybody practically knows biryani now. So and like you were talking earlier about having different counties, there's different types of biryani based on region. Like Punjab has its own, Hyderabad has its own form of biryani, and they all have different levels of spice blends. Spice blends. So I mean, one may have more cumin, one may be more less bland, or all that stuff. You just have to eat it all and find out what you like, basically, and that's half the fun. I mean, that's the adventure part of it.
Well, yeah,
absolutely.
I love authentic food, and of course, I've talked about it before. But there was a place that we would go in Egypt, in Luxor. Now you could go to Luxor East Bank, and that's where the temples were, Karnak and Luxor Temple, and the downtown region, our area, very busy. And by downtown, don't think skyscrapers, think at best 2-story buildings. Some 3-story, depending if they're building up. And you had, but it was busy. You go to the West Bank, where John and Maria lived on the outskirts. As you start walking, we'd walk from the ferry boat on the river Nile, in case you wondered. You start walking west, and we're walking toward the Theban mountains. If we walked a half an hour, we'd be at the mountain. But about halfway there, we're at John's house. But going through there, a little less busy. You go into downtown East Bank, Luxor. But we'd go eat every day at a little place called Mohammed's Cafe. Go figure. And I've got a couple of pictures here because it was such a wonderful place. It was right out on the outskirts of, let's see, I'll show you this one first. Let's see, where did I put it? Oh, did it go to a different place? So I'll show you this one first. Since I don't have the one I thought was here. Oh, I saved it as a JPEG. That's why. Here is the restaurant itself. We'd go here every day about 2 p.m. We'd go for lunch dinner. And that's when most of the archaeologists, who would start at 6 to 7 a.m., they'd be done at 2. And if there was some archaeological work going on in the Valley of the Nobles, and so the Russian archaeological team would come over to Mohammed's as well, and we'd hang out with them. And we eventually got invited to their dig to see what was going on. This is Mohammed's Cafe right here. And that's that's the real, man.
Yeah, and that's also a good sign. If you see that they're growing their own herbs and peppers and everything, it's going to be good.
Yeah, and it was fantastic. Now, if you were to sit there at that restaurant, I'm going to show you what the view is from that restaurant. you drive up on the road, and the road was a dirt road. It's like you take Luxor East Bank out about 1.5 miles to 2 miles to just like the end of the city limits, and you're on the desert. You're on the Sahara. The Theban Mountains are in front of you, and all the temples are lined up there. You just drive down, and then you go around that about 10 minutes around. You're in the Valley of the Kings. And so if you were to look the other direction while you're sitting here in this restaurant, this shows you how local this is. It looks like this. Let's see, it's loading up here. But you drive up this little dirt road, and you have all the desert and the mountains, and some of the dilapidated old temples were there. And this was in between Menedot Habu and the temple of Hatshepsut, all along this line right in here. But this is the road. This is if you looked to the right, this is what you got. If you look to the left, you got this view right here. This is the restaurant. This is looking out from the restaurant.
Oh, wow.
There's the Theban mountain range. There's the sign, Restaurant Mohammed Cafe. And the stones that you're seeing out here, well, over here is the old Valley of the Nobles is all over in here, the nobles' tombs in here. And if you go on the other side of this ridge, you're in Valley of the Kings. And you had to drive. It took you about 10 minutes from this point to drive around. You go past Howard Carter, who discovered King Tut's tomb. His old house is a museum there now. You go past his house and go around to the Valley of the Kings. And so this is Mohammed's Cafe. And this is where we ate every day. We'd go down here, and it was all as traditional as you can get. And Mohammed himself, I've got one picture of him here. Let me bring up Mohammed. This is him taking orders. You want yes, we give you this, and John would just order the typical. We want this spread. And every day was kind of the same thing. But here's Mohammed. He's cooking.
Easy customers.
Yeah, we were easy. Same thing. And he just bring out the dishes, and we all ate off of the main platters that were out, and pots and things like that. But this is him cooking. Here's part of your outdoor kitchen. Boom. There's Mohammed.
Yeah.
So that's what we'd eat every day. And he had an indoor kitchen too. He had some modern facilities, but
this taste you cannot replicate in an indoor kitchen is cooking outside on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
this is amazing. And he had indoor fire too,
Yeah, but I mean, I'm saying kitchen. The outside, it hasn't.
This is like cooking on the grill. We are going to cook on the grill tonight. And he's grilling. So, but you're right, Roger Rabbit. What a view. And that's where, if you walked across the dirt road right here, and you turn to the left, you were going over to Menedot Habu, that temple. You can look that up. And but what you're looking at right here in the in the start of the ridge there, you're seeing like the old the necropolis of the tombs of the nobles. And there was a town that was built right in there. You can see some of the buildings down there, and they tore those all down. Those towns were there there were some people that archaeologists even protested it, even though the people who lived there, the houses started getting built there a few hundred years ago, because people would tunnel down into the tombs and tomb raid. And a lot of these houses, you could walk into the house and there's a trap door that goes down into tombs. And they tore it all down. And the archaeologists were kind of against that. There's that two sides of that coin, because one, they're tomb robbing. The other is that this is antiquity itself. These houses are part of history. And so there's some of them left there down at the bottom. But then you turn to the right here, of course, and that dirt road right there just spills out onto the tarmac road about 200 feet down, and that goes down along in front of all the temples there.
Yeah.
Temple of Amenhotep II, Temple of Tutmosis III, Hatshepsut, all of those right down there within 5 minutes of Mohammed's. And the Russian archaeologists, they were working right out here somewhere, right in front of the restaurant here, down into a pit. And they had uncovered a big tomb, and it had, like big pillars all around the outside of this courtyard tomb that was all buried. And they dug it all out. And we went down inside there. We went, I think it was at least 30 meters down, about 90 feet down into these shafts that had no stairway. And they had at the like going to the landing where you had to turn right as it kept going down. It's just a big shaft dropping into hello, nothing. They had a couple of boards across that.
See, that would scare me because that reminds me of like going down a mine shaft. And
that's what it was like.
Everything's going to cave in. Nobody's going to come and save you.
Right.
Save you. We're going to pull out your.
Well, these old the shafts, the diagonal shafts were the shafts that they built in to build the tombs. So those have been there forever. And then you got down and you're in this big carved out room, bigger than my basement here. And it was all carved out in the pillars. They were squared pillars, but they were all chiseled out of the rock. And it was just crazy. And that's where I saw for the first time we got down in there. And there were these, the little Walmart type of baskets you can get at Walmart or the dollar store, the stackable plastic bins that you roll around your kitchen on plastic wheels. They had a bunch of those with debris, artifact debris, mummy debris. And sitting on the top of one of those was a head with no wrapping on it. And the face, his eyes are closed and his mouth is kind of partially open. There's this very dark grayish brown head from the age. And John and I were going, look at the head. It looks like he could just speak to you. And he's sitting on the top of the basket, with all these other bits and pieces of things that were digging out.
Yeah, I mean, that I would find that disturbing.
It was slightly disturbing. There was also in that Russian tomb, in an antechamber off before you went down the shaft, there was, and we just got a glimpse at it. We didn't go in there. There was somebody working on it, but you walked right by the doorway as we're going to this diagonal shaft, and I could have reached out and touched it. Huge sarcophagus. The Egyptian coffins in the shape of whoever the noble that was in there, but it looked like, in my mind's eye, my memory almost looked like it was painted, but it looked like mosaic work. It was so intricately colorful and beautiful. And they're in there, they're brushing this thing off, and it's all right there in that little antechamber, and it was enormous. Memory serves, it came up over my eye level, the top of the thing, and it might have been on a pedestal of some kind, but this huge, enormous coffin, and very colorful.
Just ask, since you guys went in, did they at least make you wear masks?
No, we didn't have to wear masks. This was we were back there in what year was it?
No, that because the reason I'm asking is the whole thing that what happened, when they opened
the dust and the
King Tut's tomb, where we had exposure to all the foreign bacteria and everybody ended up dying. So
I think that this tomb was probably maybe at the very beginning they did, but they'd been working on this. And I think it was pretty clean. So there weren't like animal or bat droppings in there, and it seemed very cleaned out, although it was dusty. But no, we didn't wear masks, and so nobody there working on it was wearing masks. Maybe when they were in there doing the huge dusty brushing off work, they were. But when they brought us in after lunch one day, we walked over from the cafe, and went down in there, and they were all Russian, of course. They had one guy who could speak broken English, and John and Maria, we all did our best, and we talked, and there was a huge, simpatico with everybody. And so it was very cool. And they were teasing me at the time. I was happily married to Raini in 2013, but there was one of the archaeologists was a young, glamorous looking, gorgeous woman, brunette. And she had on these sunglasses. She looked like the old world movie stars because she had on some kind of hat and this veil. Not like an Islamic veil, but it was to keep the dust out. You could see right through it. She had this veil tossed over her shoulder, wrapped around her face and stuff. And John was like, "There you go, Scotty. There's your Russian archaeologist." And I said, "I'm a happily married man." So, but there was a certain dirty, dusty glamour to that archaeological team.
Yeah.
And it was very cool because, you know, they weren't Americans, they weren't British, they were not Western, they were Eastern Bloc, if you will. And so it was very, very cool to see that other side of modern culture working on antiquities like that. So it's very cool.
Still makes you feel like Indiana Jones.
Yes, it did. And I was wearing my fedora, of course. And Roger Rabbit said, getting Indiana Jones' girlfriend vibes. I think her name was Maria. I can't remember her name. But when we went down to to visit them one afternoon, we saw them almost every day at Mohammed's. Talked to them, were nice, and we went down, and she was working on. Had a drafting table set up, and it was in the kind of the open courtyard, and this open courtyard open to the sun. On top, it had the pillars all around it, and they had cleared all that out as well inside the pillars. So her desk was kind of half in the shade, half in the sun. And I was watching what she was doing. We were talking about drawings she was doing of some of the artifacts and things like that. So it was a very cool little operation they had going there. So the Russian archaeological team. And I couldn't get the Indiana Jones theme music out of my head the whole time. So, but Mohammed's Cafe, there it is. Talking about food, that was the best place I ever ate in Egypt. And we ate there almost every day for a month.
What did you eat?
So, I couldn't tell you because I didn't memorize the names of things. But of course, rice, they had this meat dish you would bring out that was red meat. I don't know if it was tomatoes that colored it. I want to say probably, but other traditional spices. And it was a meat, and it was on the bone. It was kind of like a roast, but not. More tender than a roast. There was potato dishes he brought out, like whole potatoes, salads and stuff, of course. And it all sounds very straightforward, but the taste was very different. The spicing was different. Hello? I couldn't tell you the names of the dishes. They were given to me at the time. And I couldn't tell you. I'd have to look.
It's probably like a goat or lamb or
I'm not sure what it was. I think you could probably look up Mohammed's Cafe. And
he's got Yelp.
Everything's on Facebook now.
I'm sure they probably got look, Restaurant Mohammed, Luxor. Oh, here it is. It's got a location. They're currently open.
East end of nowhere.
That means it's a really good place because even if you're out in the
some nice pictures in there
alone
too.
Restaurant, people are going to be like, I don't know if I have to eat here because it's the only one here, or if it's good,
Right. Well, apparently John and Maria had been eating here for years at this place. They knew him. He knew them. Here's a link if you guys want to go look it up. There's Mohammed's TripAdvisor link. I'm sure he doesn't have. I don't think Mohammed has a website. I don't think he's built his own website. This is just people who put up reviews.
Instagram.
Yeah, I doubt it. He doesn't seem to me to be somebody who. There's no menu here. I was looking to see if it was showing pictures. It says here Mediterranean, Egyptian, vegetarian friendly.
Oh, okay.
It's in Kom Lola, Luxor, Egypt. Just off. He's got a phone number. You can call him.
Call and say, what did I eat?
Yeah, what was that?
2013.
I remember you. That's all I'd have to say. This is Scotty. I came in with Dr. Ward and Maria. Scotty. they, I haven't been there in 9 years. So.
But I bet if you go there now, he would still remember you. I mean, that's
he would remember me.
Yeah, it was say,
that's
bring your old order. I mean, that's the way people are. I mean,
yeah. Like you remember when on. I don't know if it was Sunday morning or it was an evening show that we had Momen Saad came on from Egypt from
I was there, so I think it was during the week.
And yeah, that's just the way it is. They're all they're my friends over there, and they keep asking me when I'm coming back. Every time I post a memory of Egypt, I have those guys like Sawali and Momen Saad and some of the other people there. Etienne, not Etienne. What the hell? His name's skipping me. We called him a name for short because it was a shortened version of his name, Tayyib, El Tayyib, on my Instagram. He's Egyptiana Jones, what he calls himself, because when he was up taking us into the mountains, into the Sinai, whenever you go, even though John and Maria were archaeologists, we had to have, legally, you had to have a government appointed guide. And so he was our guide, and he became a good friend. He did a couple of different trips with us, and he we would take our fedoras and let him wear our fedora for pictures and stuff. And he went and got himself a really nice fedora. And so he's pretty cool looking dude, and he loves his country. The day we went, just a little story to tell about Tayyib. The day in 2014 when we went, it was February 22nd. We went for the birthday of Ramesses II, Ramesses the Great. And we went to his temple, which had been moved up because of the flooding of the Nile there in the Lake Nasser. They had to move that temple up, the one with the four big seated statues of, what's the name of the place? Abu Simbel. And they were celebrating. There were thousands of people there to watch the sunrise on February 22nd, because on February 22nd, they kept the calculations right when they moved the temple up, mathematics and all of that, when the sun rises on his birthday, it shines in through the front door of the temple all the way to the back of the temple and illuminates the statue of Ramses and his wife and his children and the gods and so on in the back of the Holy of Holies in the temple. And they made a big deal out of it that year, 2014. I'm not sure what the year was anymore, why that was so significant. But they estimated 10,000 people there. And Tayyib was standing on the beach on Lake Nasser right in front of this temple. And all these people are around waiting for the sun to rise. The sky's getting light. The sun's not quite up yet. And I look at him and he goes, Scotty, he says, and he's got tears in his eyes. He says, you don't know how this makes me feel. These are my people, and we're all together in peace, and we're celebrating our history. And he says, this does my heart so good, he said. And so that's Tayyib. If you want to connect with him, look up Egypt. I think it's Egyptiana. He does it instead of Indiana. Egyptiana Jones is what I think. Let me search it here just to be sure.
That just goes to show bad puns are a worldwide thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's universal.
There it is. It is. It's Egyptiana Jones. And I've got many pictures of El Tayyib here. It's El Tayyib Abdallah Hassan is his full name. But if you want to link up with him or just go look through his Instagram and look at his pictures, he takes people on tours all the time. There's the link. And you can connect with him over there. Tell him Scotty and Dr. Ward, and he'll know exactly. And John is not a PhD, by the way. That's what they call everybody over there. They call me Egyptians. They'd see I was with an archaeologist, and I was white and Western, and it was, hello, doctor. They all think because you're an archaeologist because you're there, and that and if you're working with an archaeology team, you're obviously a doctor. So everybody called me Doctor or Dr. Scotty or Cowboy. Hey, Cowboy. They'd call me because of my hat. And they'd say, well, it's a fedora. It's not really a cowboy hat. But, hey, do you got 6-shooter? And they'd say, and they were being
no,
fun.
It wouldn't fit in my bag. The TSA would get it. Sorry.
That's one of the
And
things
they were just
understand
being,
about
being
Western
wonderful.
culture versus Eastern culture.
Right.
Mm.
And they weren't mocking. They were being wonderful, nice beautiful.
No, I know, I get
And
it.
it was just
They wanted
neat.
to connect, so that's they
They
try
wanted
to
to connect, yeah.
make it the best way to connect is either through making jokes or eating food.
Yeah. Hey, do you have horse? I go, why? Yes, I do. And at the time, and so
But I mean,
yeah.
why doesn't that translate more into the West? Is my that
You
sort
wish
of,
it would.
I mean,
You know?
I see it in the South, with the Southern
Yeah.
hospitality and all that. But I mean, the rest of the
In the
country, in
South,
certain areas,
Morgan County.
I mean,
Yeah.
why doesn't that sort of lovingness attitude translate?
Yes.
Tuscaloosa County.
Yeah, that's an
Tuscaloosa
interesting
County.
one. I think some of it is probably, various cultural backgrounds and influences. And I think some of it's environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you look at like, if you look at like the big city, big cities and stuff like that, and where they sprang to life from, like city life is very, very different.
Sure.
Than even suburbs and especially rural. Like even out in more rural areas, even there's a different kind of politeness, and things like that.
But there seems to be
in,
like some sort of care. Like my grandparents, they used to live, close to where I'm at, and then they moved back to, even just the DC area. It's still Virginia. So, but it's like they hated up there. They said, "I wish we were back," because you're in a small town. Yes, everybody's up in your business, and your houses are sometimes a little more isolated because you have property around it.
I prefer that to the big city.
They said that your next door neighbor doesn't even care if you live or die. You could be rotting in your house for 3 days before somebody will come and check on you and see how you're doing.
Yes.
Well, and that's I think with the city, you're so stacked up on top of one another that like taking that standoffish kind of attitude or personality kind of stuff is probably in some ways a way to maintain a certain level of autonomy and privacy.
Yes.
And then you couple that with like it's just a rat race in the city.
Yeah.
Like everything's go 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 go. There isn't the time to take the time.
Right.
Even if that's not actually literally true, there's the mentality that's grown up around it. So I think that's where some of that comes from.
Well, I was going to say, like, the city of Tuscaloosa has went down. I mean, I say down, but crime-wise, it went up. I mean, the University of Alabama is, that's where the university is, and it's I think 50,000 students. And but like on the very outskirts of that, I mean, the university is safe, but the city has neglected the very outskirts of that, and they can't keep enough cops on the city payroll because the county pays more than the city pays.
Yep.
The state pays more than the city pays.
Well, if you'd have cities that would stop spending crap tons of money on like, hey, we're gonna put in this big art thing to make this whatever look nice, then maybe cities would have money to pay their cops better.
Well, that's what kills me about. That's what kills me. The city bankrolls. They're bankrolling like all these condos and hotels and all this other crap to get more, students.
Well, we got to be able to bring people in. We got to have people in and develop the workforce. And it's like, yeah, but if all of your other infrastructure stuff sucks because you're spending too much money giving massive tax breaks to whatever,
right?
And you're no longer like Grand Forks got really bad about how they would do things. When I was fighting the Chinese agribusiness coming in,
they were doing something like it was a 90% tax abatement for like 20 years. You know, like, or for the first 15 or something like that, it was 90% tax abatement, and then for the next 5 years, it was, it dropped down to like 75%. You know, so it's like they're basically paying no or reduced taxes, so you're not even getting the revenue off of it that you should be once you bring in something big like. But towns and towns, cities, and counties, and whatever, even states, try to do things to incentivize stuff coming in, and it's like, well, we're basically only paying 10% of what we're supposed to pay. We can come in and do that for a while, and we'll make good money, but your town doesn't really reap the full benefit of it until 2 or 3 decades later.
Well,
and it's
I was going to say the only money Tuscaloosa, the city of Tuscaloosa, brings in is during football season. If it wasn't for
By the
football.
way, I want to say Roger Rabbit's is a perfect example of that kind of spending, which Jeremy Hansen, welcome, talked about as well. He said, I sit on the business advisory board in my city. They spend horribly. Roger Rabbit followed that up by saying, perfect example of that. A city near here just paid $50,000 for a shitty mural. The street you drive on to see the said mural looks like it was bombed, so it's bad with potholes. It's so bad.
Stop.
Priorities. Yeah. So
it's all about priorities.
And you find a mural artist to go for $20,000. You know, I did not bid $50,000 to do the local mural here, which they're still trying to decide what to do with that.
See.
No, they dropped the project.
Oh,
and I don't know why. I just got that email the other day, and so I'm scheduling a meeting to line up and talk to the owner of the building about it.
I can give you a prime example of waste of state funds. They just repaved, say 15 miles of road. Right here, I'll say 20 miles of road. It's 2-lane road right here in front of my house, or by my house. Highway 11/43. It runs all the way down to Mobile.
Yep.
And now they're proposing to make it 4 lanes, and they got the funds for it, and they're going to make it 4 lanes. Why the hell did you just repave it this part?
Well, and the other problem too that comes in is like, so you'll get federal funds, right? The town will get federal funds to do infrastructure stuff, and it's like, well, we've got to spend this money that we're getting, otherwise we're not going to get it.
Yeah.
Sure.
And they start looking at those things. Like, there's one thing in Grand Forks where they were wanting to put in a traffic circle because it was an awkward intersection, but it was kind of just on the outskirts of downtown. And you're looking at this and you're like, okay, one, intersection's a little awkward, but you could totally solve whatever problem they think they have by putting in, $150 stop sign.
Sure.
Right. But they're going to put in was it $1 million, $3 million project to put in a friggin' traffic circle.
Yeah.
In a place that does not get a lot of traffic at all. And they're like, well, federal funds are paying for half of it. So, the people are, they're only going to have to pay so much. They're not having to pay the full price. And it's like, that doesn't mean you should do it. Find somewhere else where that money could be spent better than putting in a useless traffic circle. Mm-hmm. Every time I went to go drop off and pick up my dry cleaning at C&R Cleaners, there was a road that I'd have to go down. I swear to God, I am not lying when I say this, nor exaggerating. I have driven on better roads in Afghanistan than 10th Avenue North, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you have potholes as wide as a car,
It's just like nobody's done it. This hasn't been maintained or repaved in how long?
Right.
You guys aren't spending your money correctly, but they don't want to hear it because they're the highly educated engineer and the highly educated
Right.
college social work professor, or the guy that's working at the aerospace, within the aerospace stuff, or the guy that's the developer. It's like, dude, you guys are so friggin' out of touch. Like, when's the last time you actually traversed your city?
Well, I mean, the only thing we've got down here is a 4-way stop. We don't even have a flashing light. I mean, I'm out in the sticks, so that's how far
we just have
I
one street, and that's Main Street. So if you get lost on that, I head
There it
out.
is. I'm lost on Main Street.
But they was talking. I don't know if they're going to do it, since they're talking about putting that 4-way in, putting 4 lanes in. But they were talking about putting a roundabout in at that 4-way.
Well, I'd love to see him deal with a roundabout.
Yeah, I would too. Especially with, I mean, most of the truck drivers come up 11 instead of hitting the instead of going up the interstate. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, guys, we may have not exhausted the topics, but we've exhausted the time and run a half hour over. I just looked at the clock and I said, "How was it 11:30?" So, by the way, this last picture, that's me on the left, John Ward, next to me, El Tayeb, next to John, and then on the far right is Scottish medium Chris Conway, who came along on this trip. We're sitting at a fire at the compound of Sheikh Salim Barakat in the Sinai.
That is such a great picture.
That is very nice
picture. Yeah, I love it. My daughters took that picture, I think. My daughters loved Tayeb, by the way, and Chris Conway.
When's your next trip back over there?
I don't know. I haven't been there since before the heart attack and the surgery. And so 7 years ago, almost 8 years ago, is my last time in Egypt. And I'm starting to think everybody there, all my friends.
Well, I was about to say it probably ain't a good time to go over there right now.
So, I would like to go back soon. All my kids want to go to Egypt. My daughters want to go to Egypt again, Abby and Bryn, and Flynn wants to go to Egypt. Sam wants to go to Egypt. Then now Rowan wants to go to Egypt. And I think Ellery wants to go to Egypt, not because she knows a damn thing about what Egypt is or even where it is or what it is, but because everybody else wants to go. Rainy doesn't really care. I don't know. But I'd like the whole family to go to Egypt. I think that would be fun. And go out on the archaeological site and see some things.
Yeah.
I know my wife doesn't get along with John Ward very well. They had a falling out years ago, and I think it would be a great way for them to get back on track if we all went out and visited.
Or make it worse.
Or make it worse. Okay, we're here for 2 weeks, staying at their place. So
my friend Mike Ritzker just came back from Egypt. He does that Stargates of the Ancient Egypt tour.
Oh yeah.
So he just got back from that, and he had a great time.
Very cool. Yeah, I would love to go again. Yeah, I should. I'm long overdue. I should have been back there already, and I haven't. So one of these days soon, hopefully, before I'm too old to enjoy it, I'll go. And so that's it. Well, everybody, we got to bring this show to a close. Wait, what did Roger Rabbit say? My disc golf course design business has been in the beneficiary of some of these grants with local towns. I've installed 3 courses and working on 3 more, all for cities with grant money to spend. Outstanding, Roger. That's
good
fantastic. You have a good logo? Just asking. No reason. So,
because if you need a logo, we all know a guy.
We all know a guy. Yes. Jeremy Hansen said, we got grants for business incubators. planning money, but they're still in the good old boy club. Yeah, there it is.
They're still in the good old boy club.
Speaking of that, before we get off here, get Rainy to get up with me. Tumblers.
Oh, yes, I will do that. I'll have her contact you.
Appreciate
all right.
that.
And that's all we got for today, folks. Go visit El Tayeb over on Instagram. It'd be fun to connect with him. Go eat somewhere wild or cook something wild today.
Yeah, I'm gonna go eat some sushi myself. So.
There you go.
I like sushi.
I like sushi.
I'm gonna try to get some Greek today if I can remember and if any place is open.
Greek would be great. Oppa! All right. Okay, everybody. Sarah, we'll see you later. Thanks for being here.
All right,
hey, Sarah.
And Josh, good to see you. Thanks for coming on. And of course, Jason, good to see you, brother.
Always a pleasure.
Next time.
Sounds like a plan.
Everybody else, thank you for being here. Thanks for being part of the show. I got to get out of here before I get in trouble for going too long today. So, what else have I got? That's it. Be here tomorrow night, 9 p.m. for Central Time for, of course, Intrepid Radio and the Captain's Cabin. So until then, live long and prosper.